Excelsior, true believers! You are about to embark upon a journey, a trip to the 70s and 80s when mighty Marvel Comics ruled over all. The Defenders, Doctor Strange, the Champions, Deathlock, the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, Killraven, the Son of Satan, the Macabre Man-Thing, and all your other Bronze Age favorites every week appearing on Defenders Dialogue. Now here are your guides, Christopher Golden and Brian Keene.
Excelsior, true believers.
Excelsior indeed, Chris. Welcome back, folks, to Defenders Dialogue. We took a week off last week to kind of reconvene and recharge ourselves, but we are back. Chris, it's good to be back here with you. I miss doing this show when we take a week off.
Me too, and I also feel like, it's like when you're binge watching a show that, you liked it, but then the more you watch it, the more you want to watch it. And I feel like when we're doing the show, I'm just like, I love covering supervillain team up, but I also at the same time can't wait to get to Man-Thing.
Agreed. And that's right, folks. Only 3 more episodes of supervillain team up left. Today we're going to cover issues 10 and 11. Next week we're going to cover issues 12 and 13. When it gets to issues 14 and 15, we already covered those on this show. That is a Champions crossover. So if you go back through the archives, wherever you're listening to our show, you find that our read through of the Champions, you'll find our coverage of those 2 issues. And then 3 episodes from now, we will wrap up with issues 16 and 17, possibly one of the strangest stories Marvel has ever done. Something I doubt they could pull off now, but it was the Bronze Age, and that is, of course, the Red Skull and a surprise supervillain who I don't even want to name. I just want to wait until we get to
all right, yes. All right, well, then we're back, though, today with issue 10 and 11. Issue 10 is written by Bill Mantlo with art by Bob Hall and Don Perlin. Yep. These names at this point should be very familiar to listeners of the show and lovers of Marvel Bronze Age comics. And now, even though it still says Doctor Doom and the Savage Submariner on the cover, Brian, we do have the return of the Red Skull.
That's right. There's a changing of the guard afoot at Supervillain Team Up. Not in our last episode, because in our last episode, Chris and I went off script and got political on you. And kudos, a lot of listeners reached out and said they really appreciated that and enjoyed it. And a couple did not. But
if those people are back this week to listen again, I don't care that you didn't enjoy that.
The episode before that, you'll remember that Captain America noticed something odd while he was on Hydro Base with Dr. Doom, and he told the other Avengers that he had to go check it out. Well, that's where we open. We open with Captain America storming the Latvian embassy in New York.
Yeah, as you do if you're Captain America.
Captain America, 70s Captain America gave 0 shits about diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, no, he didn't care. This is what I love about Captain America. He wants to have a conversation, and he will brook no interference in that effort. He just wants to have a chat. If you want to fire weapons at him while he wants to have a chat, he is going to have a chat one way or another.
That's right. So we get, a couple pages of Cap going through the Latvian embassy, taking down the various, security armaments that Doom has in place. And while he's doing this, of course, we get a recap of everything we've been talking about on the last few episodes. Yeah. But finally, he comes face to face with Victor Von Doom himself.
Well, wait, before we get there, though, Brian, I have to mention right before that is my favorite moment in this issue.
Oh, okay.
So we get the recap. Cap is breaking in. He has all these modern weapons being shot at him, automated weapons being shot at him. And then he comes to this quite ornate door with a lion's face on the front. And he says he wouldn't leave himself unprotected. This door has got to be booby-trapped. So the best move is the unexpected one, which is, for Captain America, to dive headfirst and smash through the door he is sure is booby-trapped. And as he gets through the door, an empty suit of armor swings a gigantic golden axe down at the place that he would have been had he not smashed his way through. And like something out of Scooby-Doo, folks. And Cap says, I don't believe it. Not the old axe routine. I thought that went out with the plague.
And that leads right into my favorite moment of the issue, because this is why I love Dr. Doom. The superhero.
Because when you close your eyes at night, Brian, you picture this gigantic splash page, only it's you, and the throne has a big B on it instead of D.
Straight up. I admire the shit out of this. The superhero of all superheroes in the Marvel Universe has just, busted his way in. And Doom's sitting there in his throne, and he says, hey, Captain, would you care for some wine, or is this purely a business call?
Yeah, he's on his throne, up on a pedestal. He's got a big goblet of wine and a fur beneath his feet, a white fur beneath his feet. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
and then Captain America says,
he's not annoyed. He's not perturbed. Oh, hey, Captain America.
Not only that, but he takes the piss out of Cap. Cap says, Doom, but I thought, and Cap says, did you, Captain? How interesting. When last we chatted, I detected no such predilection in you. Just sitting there on his throne, busting Captain America's balls.
So anyway, Cap informs him that he did an analysis of the metal on this scepter that he found on Hydra Base. It was one of Atuma's people had it. And, Cap knows that it was mined and fabricated in Latveria, and he's demanding an explanation. And at this point, Doom's veneer snaps.
Demand? You dare?
Yeah, I love Dr. Doom. He says, I've humbled greater men than you.
Doom needs some fucking lithium is what he needs.
No, Doom's right here. Doom has taken on and defeated the Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer, and he reminds Cap, just a few days ago, we joined forces. Your power combined with your fellow Avengers was nothing compared to mine. But, Cap says, well, then why don't you just kill me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Anyway.
And then, I like the bromance here, though, because we could read this more than one way, Brian.
That's
Cap
right.
says, why don't you just kill me, Doom? Doom says, that would be simplicity itself here in my own embassy, surrounded by the fruits of my scientific genius. Your life hangs on a thread to be cut short at Doom's command. And Cap says, yet you hesitate, Doom. Why? Is it this rod? Is that what's caught your interest? Now, this could launch the mother of all slash fiction right here. I mean, that right there, all you need is that one panel, and I really know you're going to put it on YouTube so people can enjoy that one panel, because it's like moments later, Doom could whip off his mask and they could be making out on that throne.
I guarantee you, the folks that listen to this show on YouTube are right now looking at that panel.
The folks that were mad about last week's episode are now really mad at my suggestion that Cap and Dr. Doom have sex.
I didn't even catch that, but you're right. It's clear as day, and it's even drawn that way.
Yeah, it looks like they're about to rush together and make out.
Oh, my God.
To the Chariots of Fire theme.
That's hilarious. So anyway, Cap gives his rod to Dr. Doom. And, Dr. Doom, his entire demeanor changes. And he says, again, He has taken advantage of my absence. Now, we don't know who he's referring to yet.
Well, we can guess, because if you look at Cap's rod, you'll see that it is topped with a swastika with the face of the Red Skull.
That's right. That's right.
We cut away to chapter 2 of this story.
That opens up a whole weird category of slash fiction, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, but that was in the recent Marvel version where Cap became the head of Hydra.
So
no
then
pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. We transition to Namor. He's
if anyone who listens to this wants to write that slash fiction, we will absolutely link to it from the Defenders Dialogue page.
Yeah, I mean, what's Nick Spencer doing these days?
Writing that story, maybe. All right, go ahead.
So yeah, Namor is he's pissed off because he gave himself in servitude to Doom in exchange for Doom's oath that he would restore the comatose Atlanteans, who are in these coma with nerve gas. But he's in Atlantis and nothing has changed. Nothing ever changes. He's the mock ruler of a city of the living dead.
Now, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Do you think Namor has to wash those underpants that he swims around with, or because he's always swimming, is it just sort of like self-cleaning?
Yeah, no, he's always in the water, so they're self-cleaning.
All right. Okay. Just wanted to know.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get a no.
Then there's an earthquake in Atlantis, which turns out not to be an earthquake. Of course, it is interference by the damned surface dwellers who will never leave them alone.
That's right. These surface dwellers hint that they're working for some mysterious person called Orbiter, a person or an outfit, we don't know, organization. But Orbiter told them that Namor was off somewhere fighting a Tuma, and clearly Orbiter was wrong.
Exactly. So they have been misled, and they pay for it with lots and lots of smashed drilling and military equipment. And, Namor is threatening this guy, and he just says he doesn't know who Orbiter is. He's working out of some third world country called Latveria.
That's right. And then we transition to Latveria, where the other Doctor Doom, which you'll remember is not really Doctor Doom, but the deposed Crown Prince Rudolfo in another set of Doom's armor. He and the Shroud and the Circus of Crime are all storming the castle, so to speak.
What's interesting about this to me is, and again, let's back up and say, in the earlier Shroud story in Supervillain Team Up, loved the Shroud. And I still like him in this part of the story, but we've gotten to the point where he's just sort of there, and it literally could be anyone.
Right.
I mean, it could be Nicholas Piccioni. Like, no, in the background of this story, it could be anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. And I don't really, because it's not about him now. He's just sort of like there. And that bums me out because, again, he's just one of these characters that has huge potential that is yet to be truly tapped.
I agree. Although I will say that he does get used. We won't get to it this week, but next week, I think they use him to good effect, but still not really in any sense that is unique to the Shroud. As you said, you could replace him with Nighthawk or Shang-Chi or Torpedo or
right,
Hellcat, any other Marvel character, and they would fill the same role.
If only it were Hellcat, then I would make you read his dialogues. But all right, so yeah.
So anyway,
go ahead.
Yeah, they're sneaking through the castle, getting ready to take the throne room. And some of Doom's soldiers come in, and they know that Rudolfo is an imposter. They know he's not really their master. So the Shroud makes quick work of them, and Rudolfo chips in and helps.
And the citizens are there backing Rudolfo with their pitchforks and swords and other items. And they smash their way. Rudolfo and the Shroud smash their way into Doom's throne room, which looks like the bridge of the Enterprise.
That's right.
And there is somebody sitting in the chair.
Oh. Yeah, there is indeed, Amerikaner swine. There is indeed.
We have ways. And then the person in the chair fires at Rudolpho. The Shroud thinks Rudolpho is dead.
Yeah.
And then the Shroud sees who it is and says, I know you. All those stories I read as a kid. And of course, we know because, like every other Marvelite who read this comic, we saw the cover of this comic. So there's no big reveal here, even though the art takes pains to hide it. The editors allowed the cover art to give away that this is the Red Skull.
That's right. Meanwhile, Captain America and Doctor Doom are teamed up and flying into Latveria. And I love this scene because somebody down there in Latveria fires heat-seeking drones at them.
Yeah.
And we get this wonderful bit here where Captain America, he mans the anti-aircraft gun, and he says, I once manned an anti-aircraft gun during the London Blitz. And Dr. Doom just puts him in his place and says, stop living in the past. This is the present.
You lost the Civil War. Oh, wait, no, that's last week's episode.
This is why Dr. Doom is my favorite Marvel villain.
But I also love the fact that Dr. Doom is yelling at him and saying, you let one missile get through, one drone craft get through, the Rainbow Missile.
That's
and
right.
I feel like, again, this is like one part of America saying to the other part of America, no, you let the Rainbow Missile get through.
That's right. And what does the Rainbow Missile do? Well, there's a brief flash glowing with the colors of the rainbow. And then Dr. Doom's ship is gone, taking Dr. Doom and Captain America with it.
And the Red Skull believes, and he has the Shroud by gunpoint, and he believes that Dr. Doom is dead. Now,
That's right.
And the Shroud says, I'll fight you. You've been beaten before. And Red Skull says, like Dr. Doom, pitiful, misguided American, the past is gone. Soon all men shall raise their hands to a new order, a Fourth Reich, and proclaim the Red Skull Führer over all.
Oh my goodness, true believers. It's a 1970s comic that echoes today's headlines.
Yeah, I mean,
it leads right into issue 11, My Ally, My Enemy.
Which, and by the way, I just want to point out that now issue 11 for the first time, Brian, at the top of the cover, it says supervillain team up, Dr. Doom and the sinister Red Skull.
That's right.
So the Submariner is no longer the second build villain. It is now the Red Skull, again by Mantlo, Bob Hall, and Don Perlin.
That's right. And I love Bob Hall's splash page here with the Shroud facing down the Red Skull. I mean, credit where it's due. I wish Marvel would do something with the Shroud because, in his first appearances, he takes on, Doom and the Skull. I mean, yeah, he also takes on the Circus of Crime, but he takes on two of the biggest villains in the Marvel Universe.
But to be fair, he joins the Circus of Crime.
Yeah. But anyway, the Shroud puts the Red Skull in his place. He says, you goose-stepping clown, I'm the Shroud, the guy who killed Dr. Doom, and you're just not in the same league.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. So then we have, and again, let's just remember who the Red Skull is. He says to, when the Shroud kicks him in the face, Schweinhund, you would dare to soil my flesh with the touch of your own? So there you go. There's a fight. And one of the Red Skull's minions bashes the Shroud in the head and knocks him out.
Yeah. And I keep remembering, we have a lot of younger listeners who did not read these as children the way you and I did. And although they listen every week, their knowledge of these characters comes from the MCU. So understand the Red Skull in Marvel continuity. Yeah. Later on, he takes over Hydra for a while, but the Red Skull is a Nazi. Straight out of the Third Reich. He was Hitler's right-hand man. I don't know if that's still in modern continuity, but in the Bronze Age, the period that we're covering, he's a straight-up Nazi. Okay?
Right. Well, not only that, but again, as you said, he wasn't any random Nazi. He wasn't a random Nazi you might punch on the street. He was Hitler's right-hand man, as you said. Like, he was one of the top villains of the real world in the comics.
Right.
And so that's what we're dealing with here.
Right. So we find out as the Red Skull's soldiers subdue the Shroud, we find out that Rudolfo is not dead. He is gravely, gravely wounded. He's been shot in the chest, but he's alive. And Rudolfo, who hates Dr. Doom, whose only purpose is to overthrow Doom and take over Latveria for himself, is wishing, if only Doom were here.
Mm-hmm.
He could take down this Nazi motherfucker.
If only Doom were here is the theme of this series.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, so basically, we've discussed before, True Believers, that Dr. Doom has created this hypno ray that's orbiting the world, and he has prepared it so that he could take over the minds of everyone in the world so that Doom can enforce his utopian idea of what the world should be under his own rule. The Red Skull learned of this somehow, and he has now taken it, and it's under his control. And I have to tell you, folks, Dr. Doom is a villain and a tyrant. But if you have to choose between a villain and a tyrant and a murdering, racist, anti-Semitic, ethnic cleansing Nazi to use the hypno ray to control the world, I think we know which one we'd prefer.
That's right. For our non-comic listeners who do listen to this show, and I know there are many of you, let me put it in other terms. Okay. This would be like the infrastructure that I have spent the last 20 years building. It would be like if it fell into the hands of Vox Day. Who do you want in charge of the genre, Brian Keene or Vox Day? I thought that would get Mary San Giovanni charging in here from her office, but it
I don't know. There are some days Mary might say Vox Day.
I don't think Mary would ever say Vox Day. Mary, are you in your office? She is not. Okay, now that's why she didn't come.
Well, she probably ran. That's all right. Continue.
So anyway, we find out Doom and Cap are not dead. They managed to eject from the ship before it crashes. But there's just one problem, Chris, and what is it?
The big problem is that, like so many wonderful cartoons of our youth, they're standing on what they think is a fallen tree or something. Sometimes we see things like in the Peter Jackson King Kong, they think they're on a raft, but that's no raft. It's a gigantic snake.
But it's not gigantic. It's normal sized.
I know.
Dr. Doom and Cap have been shrunk to the size of field mice.
Honey, I Shrunk Cap and Dr. Doom. And this is so let me make a quick aside. Many years ago, Tom Sinagoski and I were talking to an editor who was working at Marvel doing like middle grade and young adult novels under the umbrella of Marvel Comics about doing some work for them. And this editor tried to get us to pitch a middle grade book in which the Marvel superheroes were in an ice cream shop and got shrunk down like in Honey, the Shrunk the Kids and had a war inside the ice cream shop. And that conversation has been a touchstone for me and Tom ever since. And I couldn't think of anything other than that when I got to this. And I'm like, wait, what?
I mean, it's a common Bronze Age trope, though. We've covered it. We had it happen in the Defenders when the headmen shrunk them down. We had it happen in Godzilla when he got shrunk down.
Yep.
And now here it is in Supervillain Team Up.
There you go. So that was the rainbow missiles effect, folks. Like something out of, Green Arrow's, quiver of trick arrows has shrunk Dr. Doom and Captain America. And oh my God, water's pouring into the moat, rushing towards me. And at this size, it's like facing a raging tidal wave. So
That's
Cap
right.
is swept away.
That's right.
By the water in the moat.
But it's not just Cap and Dr. Doom that are storming the castle. Namor has shown up too. And
he has frequent flyer miles now from going back and forth to Latveria.
And the Red Skull's men attack him, but Namor doesn't know that they serve the Red Skull. He thinks they're Doom's men until the Red Skull reveals himself. And this is an odd part. He says, he beseeches Namor, stop this senseless fighting. Doom is deposed. I'm a new master. We were enemies in the past, but it is the hand of friendship the Red Skull now holds out to you. And Namor's like, the hand of a Nazi?
Yeah. But then it's the Shroud who says, the Red Skull says, I want to give these people the democracy I was sworn to bring them. And the Shroud says, yeah, the kind Hitler brought Germany. Come on, Namor. Where's the invader who fought this crud back in 42?
Right.
So there you go. And the Red Skull, knocks the Shroud out again.
And then I love this. Namor, just one panel. Skull, I would have words with you.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I feel like that should be your response on Twitter to people when they start shit. I would have words with you.
So meanwhile, in the moat, Dr. Doom's armor has sealed itself so he can breathe indefinitely. But Captain America has no such armor. And patriotic fool that he is, there is still a debt of honor owed him. So Dr. Doom saves him.
Yeah. There you go. And then they sneak as tiny little mice people. They sneak along and they find the dungeon of the Castle Royal. And they see the people who are locked up there. And Dr. Doom shows some concern.
That's right.
For some of his most loyal retainers, especially old Boris.
That's right. Because Boris has been locked up by the Skull. And, Cap mocks him. He says, concern, Doom, for a mere servant. And Doom snaps on him again. He says, you don't know what you're talking about.
No.
And, Cap has a moment of reflection. He says, I would have never thought love for his subjects to be one of the forces that shaped Dr. Doom.
There you go. Well, then we go, and again, they continue to creep along inside the walls and on ledges. And now they're still tiny, but watching the exchange that we just saw with Namor saying, Skull, I would have words with you. And now we see the rest of that scene. And the Shroud is trying to make his argument, and the Skull is saying, pay no attention to this non-entity Namor. Oh.
And then tiny little Dr. Doom attacks regular-sized Red Skull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all I can think about with this is the Daffy Duck cartoon. I'm rich, I'm fabulous. With the cave with all that, yeah. And he gets shrunk down.
So, I'm with you. So Dr. Doom Red Skull seizes Dr. Doom, and he's about to crush him to death. And, Doom calls out to Namor. He says, the Skull plans to enslave everybody on Earth with the Hypno Ray. Restore me to normal size, and I swear I will cure your comatose Atlantean subjects. And Namor says, you are many things, Doom, but you are no liar. And he goes to to press the red button. I love that it's a giant red button.
I know.
But before he can, the skull shoots him.
I feel like the red button in comics is the same as Damon Hellstrom's Nether Trident. Again, it does whatever you need it to do in that particular moment.
Yep. So Skull shoots Namor. As Namor falls back, he manages to click the button. Captain America and Dr. Doom are restored to their normal size. And then it's Nazi punching time.
Yep. There you go. And and the Shroud only sees that, Doom is the one. And he starts to, he's upset because he doesn't want Doom to get to the controls for the Hypno Ray any more than he wants the Red Skull to get to the controls.
Right. And
Cap actually intercedes on Doom's behalf and decks the Shroud. The Shroud is crushed by this. And, they continue to fight. But then the Red Skull retreats to Doom's throne and is behind Doom's own force field.
Yep.
And we have an unexpected hero rises at this moment, Brian.
That's right. Rudolfo, still mortally wounded, drags himself across the floor. And he says, it must not be. Doom's tyranny could be fought. Men retain their wills. There would be none of that under the skull. So he reaches for that teleportation device and he presses buttons and whoosh, the Red Skull disappears.
And he's teleported, Brian.
That's
right.
They
initially don't know where he's been teleported to. And then we see, because why the fuck not? The Red Skull is on the moon.
That's right. That's right. He radios back to Dr. Doom and Cap and Namor and the Shroud, and he says, here I am in my lunar stronghold. By now, you've discovered that the Hypno Ray controls on the throne were redesigned to respond to no hand but mine. And even now, I'm preparing to activate the Hypno Ray from here. There's nothing you can do to stop me.
And of course, they're wrong, Brian, because next week, when we discuss issue 12, we will see Supervillain Team Up move its action to the moon.
That's right. That's right. I can't wait for that.
As I said, why the fuck not?
Exactly. And like we said, folks, there's only 3 episodes of Supervillain Team Up left. After that,
well, 2 more after this one.
Yeah, 2 more after this one. After that, we will be digging in to Steve Gerber's Man-Thing. We'll be starting with the collected issues of Adventure into Fear, and then it turns into its own series. For my money, after Gerber's work on the Defenders, for my money, it's his best work at Marvel. Certainly a gemstone of Bronze Age 70s Marvel. And I know you haven't read them, Chris, so I'm really excited to get.
Yeah, I've only read a handful of issues from that classic Man-Thing run, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I've actually, I bought the collections, but I held off reading them. I bought them over the last couple of years, but I've held off reading them because I knew we were going to end up doing them for the show.
Awesome. Before we go, I want to remind folks, our engineer is Matt Wildison. If you enjoy how he makes Chris and I sound, maybe check out his books on Amazon, or you can reach out to him on Twitter or Facebook, and you can buy a book from him, and he will sign it and mail it to you from the comfort of his home to the comfort of your home. If you enjoy the show and you would like to advertise, that's easy to do. Just go to briankeene.com, click the podcast/radio tab at the top of the page, and all the information is right there. Chris and I would certainly appreciate it. Chris, give us a hearty Excelsior.
Brian, I feel it today. Excelsior, true believers.
Wow. We'll see you next week, folks.
Defenders Dialogue is a production of the Brian Keene Radio Network. You can listen to this episode and all previous episodes for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play Music, and wherever else podcasts are available. Defenders Dialogue is written and produced by Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Our theme music is by Xander Harris. Our engineer is Matt Wilderson. Check out his books on Amazon.com. If you enjoyed this show, you might enjoy our other podcast, The Horror Show with Brian Keene, Cosmic Shenanigans, and Grindcast. To advertise on Defenders Dialogue, visit briankeene.com and click Podcasts.